Is Jesus Christ a true prophet or a false prophet? According to Deuteronomy 18, one is commanded to listen to God's prophets. However, if he is a false prophet, then you are not to listen to him. But how, asks the Bible, are we to know if a person is a true prophet or a false prophet? The Bible answers its own question by telling us that this prophet who speaks in the name of God, if his prophecy does not come to pass, then he is not a prophet of God, and he is a false prophet, and we are not to fear from him. So did the prophecies of Jesus come to pass, in which case he is a prophet of God? Or did they not come to pass, in which case he is a false prophet? In the Gospel of Mark, chapter 9, Jesus tells his disciples that some of them standing there will not taste death until they see the kingdom of God has come in power. However, all of Jesus' disciples all died, and the kingdom of God has not yet come in power. And today, 2,000 years later, the kingdom of God has still not come in power. So here we have a prophecy of Jesus that did not come to pass. That would make him a false prophet according to Deuteronomy chapter 18. The author of Luke, who used the Gospel of Mark as a source, found the words of Jesus to be so problematic that he had to change the words of Jesus by erasing the words "has come in power." This makes more sense to him because according to his gospel, the kingdom of God is not something that can be observed. The typical response by Christian apologists to this failed prophecy of Jesus is that this prophecy was in fact fulfilled, and it is referring to the transfiguration which happened right after Jesus made this prophecy. However, the transfiguration cannot be the kingdom of God that Jesus was referring to, because even after the transfiguration, Jesus still speaks about the kingdom of God as though it had not yet come. So Jesus could not have been referring to the transfiguration as the kingdom of God. Jesus makes another prophecy about troubling events that will happen at the end of times, followed by the return of the Son of Man. All this, he says, will happen before this generation passes away. Yet that generation passed away, and Jesus did not return, and many of those events did not happen. So here we have another prophecy of Jesus which failed to pass, which makes Jesus a false prophet. Jesus makes another prophecy in Mark chapter 14 when he tells the high priest that he will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of God and coming on the clouds of heaven. This, of course, never happened, as Jesus never appeared to him on the clouds of heaven. So yet again we have another prophecy of Jesus which failed, which makes Jesus a false prophet. And yet again, the author of Luke finds the words of Jesus problematic, that he has to change the words of Jesus. Instead of Jesus saying, "You will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of God," he instead says, "The Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of God," without saying anything about anyone seeing it. That is because at the time that Luke wrote his gospel, the high priest was already dead and could not have witnessed Jesus returning in the clouds of heaven.